Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Dan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Is the date correct?
Yes.
All right, that's awesome. So, essentially, do you want to let the audience know why we do these videos from your perspective before I say anything? Because essentially, I was confronted with a question or a challenge, and that was basically like, what's the point of these videos? And is this what it's going to be like from now on? And the answer is
Yes.
no. It is not the way it's going to be like. Because
Yes.
once the issues are resolved in my life, I don't think that there's any reason to film anything except applied mathematics. The law part of it, so for example, if I were to convert Pierce Bainbridge into a for-profit institution that does the same services as I did for myself, I wouldn't be able to offer legal services. You understand?
Yes.
So I don't think that I would have any interest to waste my time ever filming any videos about anyone that I'm working for.
So you mean this would be crossed out?
This would be crossed out, and everything is really ab initio, because had the bankruptcy the first time 2 years ago gone according to plan, we would never be here today. Do you understand?
I do.
And the reason why I say this very openly and in a frustrating way, I said to you yesterday I was sad. Why don't you ask me why I'm sad?
Why are you sad?
I'm sad because I believe this is a very bittersweet win. I do call for victory because I believe that the US Constitution and the law cannot be beaten at the end of the day.
Okay.
I don't. I really do not. I think that we as a society have mutually agreed that the most important element in our society is really the courts. And I don't see that type of institution ever siding with criminals. And that's where I say to you, Jamie, you know, we weren't allowed to file for almost, 2 years or something?
Yeah.
And one would say, why? And that's really what the consensus of my frustration is, that had the courts not erred so much, they never would impose a restriction of filing, which essentially was designed to make sure that my life is completely destroyed and I wouldn't be able to file a second bankruptcy.
Correct.
But lo and behold, I somehow survived.
Here you are.
Yeah, here I am, like it just, you can't kill me, so you might as well just watch the videos. Look, what I'm basically saying is...
So why were you sad?
I was sad because even if we do win, or when we do win, we still have to accept the reality that all these people went against us for no reason.
Right.
The courts had no motivation to side with Don Biase and people who broke into my house, and I've been evicted, I've been thrown out of places, I've been arrested on my own properties. I mean, I don't know what else, I don't know how much more I need to do to prove my point that my YouTube channel, as well as my persona, are simply used against me rather than the facts. And
That's true.
these videos are very, very important because I'm able to really express testimony that is very long. It is extremely wordy. It is extremely redundant. And one finds themselves being redundant because they're not able to achieve
Right.
what they're trying to achieve in a coherent manner.
But also the courts could say, well, what did this do to you? How did this ruin your life? And you could just say, well, watch the videos for 4 years.
I couldn't do anything. Like, there's no... Look, for anyone who doesn't
Want
understand,
proof?
okay? A lot of people criticize me like, oh, you should go get a job and not film YouTube videos, all right? Let me explain to you guys something, all right? When a human being has a $2 million judgment on them and a perfected lien on your assets and things like that, you can't just retain income and ignore the judgment. That's a business lesson that I hope to convey to you guys. And in the course of these videos, I really want to talk about White Lotus and what to do in an active shooter situation, which you haven't seen yet. And I realized that with the episode of Family Guy that we just watched, the most recent one, where Barton James does a duet with Kyle Rittenhouse, and as a human being who invented Kyle Rittenhouse, I think that,
It was a very good.
and anyone that doesn't know what Rittenhouse means, it means roadhouse. And, yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal. So Roadhouse comes out and no one gets it, and then Barton James does a duet with Kyle Rittenhouse, and I'm sorry, that episode is so fucking
This
good.
season has been perfection. So, moving on.
It's impossible. You can't move on. That's the thing. You see, that's where the damage is. Because a human being like me simply has no job,
Right.
no ability to retain income, and has had so much stolen from him that he can't move on.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? You want me to go work at Home Depot while I have, $80 million sitting? Who's gonna get that?
The Equalizer 5, Livingston Edition.
I wanna work at Home Depot. You know what? I want to work at a Home Depot just so I could just offer some fucking customer service. Be like, listen, you need some help, no problem. People would be like, well, what do you do about construction? I'd be like, I don't know, a commercial real estate developer and I'm an applied mathematician. Oh yeah, smarty! Like, I got a drain, and we're like, all right, no problem. Let's work together. Like, I got YouTube, you've got fucking a few dollars, we're at Home Depot, I'm sure we can fucking figure this shit out. See this name tag, it says Dan, it says fucking apron, it says Home Depot. I work here, so I know where shit is. So what's your problem? So that's what I would do, and I would actually like help people solve problems, give people my cell phone so they can show me the projects they're doing, and that's really something that doesn't exist, and that would really equalize and destroy customer service experiences and make everyone really understand where the flaws in the customer service experience are and why we live in a society that simply wants to click a button and not interact with anyone. Because humans don't offer solutions, they create problems for other humans. So when you go into Home Depot, you actually waste more time trying to interact with the people that work there than simply don't be your parents. Yeah. Well, that's why I would work there and be like, I'm not gonna be there. I'm not gonna be an old person that works at Home Depot that just like looks to talk to people. Be like, all right, what's up? What are we doing here? Okay, next. Like move on. Like you got your shit. Go home. Fucking text me. I could probably take on 4,000 to 5,000 projects at a time, and the Home Depot Corporation would be able to see what a customer service experience really is supposed to be. Obviously, can't really do that this second, but the more I talk about it, the more I like really want to do it. And Equalizer, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like I'm just a fucking regular idiot with a white belt. It's too big on him and a huge fucking gut that
You lost
developed.
a lot of weight.
I don't believe anything you say. So back to reality, and reality is that look, for anyone that's watching this at home, I know I like make a lot of jokes and say I'm a nobody, really not a nobody, but it makes me feel good to try to humble myself, since this whole thing started because my ego and my success was so disproportionate to what the world felt I should be the recipient of. So a lot of people who find themselves in a very jealous position simply could not accept that I was successful because of hard work, dedication, commitment, and ingenuity. They live in a very strict, rigid world where unless your father or someone like that, or there are certain entrepreneurs out there that simply conform to the world. I didn't conform. I broke barriers left and right. I invented things. I did it fast. I went to prison. I went out of prison. I would go into national spotlight, out of national spotlight. Nothing about me ever made sense. So when the time came for people to take their position, it really is very sad that my own mother went against me for a few $1 million. It was 6 million at the time. Obviously, with the price of gold almost tripling actually, it's 18 million right now. So like, for me, I wouldn't sell one of my kids for 18 billion. I wouldn't fucking
Right, it's just
like
a shame what happened.
you just would, if you give me $18 billion and said, here, you will get $18 billion, but you'll be known as the person that robbed your own son, let alone he is Dan Reese's, and he just spent 30 years taking care of you since he was a little boy.
Let alone these
Yeah,
things.
let alone, you know. And I say that in all humility because I don't think that it's fair for me to go against the people that I'm going against. See, I get closer and really scare the fucking shit out of you because I'm the real deal, guys. And I'm not looking to hurt anybody. I just simply want what's mine. And I will do nothing outside of the law. But at the same time, I'll never stop. At no point will I ever stop getting the criminals that cause the pain for my children and my family. And for anyone that's really fucking confused, let me explain to you how this works, okay? Today is March 20th, 2025. You're fools. Your memories are short, and your wavelengths of recognition of memories in conjunction to stressful times, just not there. So you're going to forget it. But 5, 10, 20, 50 years from now, my children, my grandchildren are going to see a real man fighting for what's his. So you don't own it unless you could keep it. I'm going to prove that to everybody. I'm going to very slowly do it. Just like, I don't know, a surgeon that works very meticulously on what they need to do. I don't just come out of the gates, get elected, fire everyone, destroy, burn everything down. I'm a man of code and honor. And I think about 300 million Americans and 8 billion human beings with every single breath in my body, every second of every day. And then I think about how I could help them, not how I could hurt them. So in the next video, I take a break. And what you're about to see is an active shooter response in White Lotus in the last episode. And I want to explain to everyone what to do if they find themselves in a rare event of something that's very mathematically improbable, but at the same time at the forefront of everyone's minds. What happens when I'm in a situation like that? So as a human being who's been in situations like that and has prevailed and is able to stand here in front of you and film this content, I highly recommend you listen to me. Because what I'm about to tell you is not only the truth, but it could actually save your life. It could save your children's life. It could change the scope of your entire narrative and history. But you would have to have the ability to have, you're right, Jamie? Cognitive psychology is really important.
Just like Joe.
Cognitive psychology is very, very important. It's very important that we as a humanity understand narratives that are played out in front of us. And when I talk about shows, I don't just mean shows. There are life lessons that are extremely important for our society to really recognize. What's happening in our society today is we simply live in a very short, narrow-minded humanity that only thinks about the current position that they're in. Forward thinking has become a thing of the past. I know that perhaps that might be a pun, but forward thinking is simply not something that is cool anymore. And when you look at a channel like this, it is virtually impossible for anyone to follow what's going on unless it is put in a way where only humans that want to give me their time will earn the gift. So, on that note, Jamie, how much time do we have?
You have 7 minutes.
Wow, that's a lot of time. Let's go ahead and cut it so each judge can think about it for 1 minute.